deliver a crisp and concise as usual.
With our modern broadcasting equipment, seamless coverage all round.
From all angles and perspectives on TV, radio, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We serve you with nothing but unadulterated information. For sure, we are your trusted election hub.
We will give you a round-the-clock update and a precise look and picture of the election.
We will uncover and probe the business side of the polls.
Who's buying whose vote and why you should be concerned.
We will assemble all the experts shaping the conversation.
Before, during, and after the elections,
We are ready.
The tax ahead, we are more than ready.
We are your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced.
AYV,
AYV,
AYV.
AYV,
AYV.
AYV.
All right, Sierra Leone decides 2023. Now, in the life cycle of Mama Saloon, for 4 years and 6 months, Kamara and Vandi will gladly eat from the same pot. Mabinti Asamai would happily borrow ogiri from each other's kitchen. But once the election season comes around, suddenly the nation remembers who is who, from where, and supports what. A study into the root cause of this peculiar phenomenon has been the premise of the Tumara National Dialogue that Usiwa is supporting. Over the last 1 year, the platform has been to Bo, Kenema, Makeni, Kono, and Freetown. The concerns and suggestions of everyday Sierra Leoneans have been collected and collated and will be fully available on Facebook. Tonight, from the home of all things credible, balanced, and unfiltered, we will close the loop by taking the opinions of the citizens straight to the leaders in an attempt to ensure concrete resolutions come out of the national dialogue, and that we all play our part to make Salone better for we all tomorrow. My name is Samuel Wise Bangura, and this is AYV on Sunday. But following the violent protests on August 10th this year, President Julius Maada for the two giant APC and SLPP.
There are no protests in all of the parts of the country, including
tormenting Liberia, and now he finds the back of the net.
And one honorable member, board of directors.
Very good evening and a warm welcome to AYV on Sunday on channel. All right, good evening and a very warm welcome to AYV on Sunday here on AYV Television on Channel 33 on DSTV, Channel 399 on radio, FM 101.7, and on Facebook, AYV News Facebook page. We encourage you to always be part of the conversation here. Drop your questions, drop your comments there, but please, we always admonish you to tailor your messages to the issues being discussed. And as always, we bring people who are in touch with the issues we discuss here. Tonight, I have the pleasure of having Femi Claudius Cole, 2018 presidential candidate for the Unity Party and acting chair of the Consortium of Progressive Political Parties. Good evening. Femi.
Good evening, Samuel. Always a pleasure.
I have the national coordinator for the Tumara Saloon, Salia Fawundu Jr. Salia, good evening and welcome to AYV on Sunday. I wanted to say wake up Sierra Leone.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Thank you very much.
All right, from the Opposition All People's Congress Party, I have Alfred Minkailu Kuruma. Alfred, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, delighted to be here as always.
All right, from the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party in Parliament, I have the Honorable Ibrahim Tawakonte. Good evening and welcome to the show, Honorable.
Good evening, thank you.
All right. Interestingly, there are concerns, there are things that civilians have raised, and those concerns happen to be the same, whether it's from Kenema or Putloko, whether it's from Makeni or Bo, Freetown or Falaba. But let me just establish a context or the premise here. I'm going to start off with you, Salia. Just give us, or put this for us into context, this Engage Business for Make Salone Better Tomorrow. First of all, what is it all about?
So the National Dialogue Series Tomorrow was created as a complement to good governance. We believe that citizen participation is indispensable for good governance. What we found out is that a lot of citizens wanted their voices to be heard, but they were talking to a brick wall. We wanted to create that loop where citizens create issues, we talk about the solutions, and we bring them directly to key decision makers all over the country and hear their feedback, and we present that back to the people. So that is the premise. The premise was to bring people from all over Sierra Leone. We did that in the pilot right here. And then the pilot was so successful that we went to 4 places in the provinces, and we did that as well. We got people from a wide walks of life, from different people, journalists, students, civil society, even a musician or two, different people from different walks of life, and we got them to precisely come out and ask for their primary concerns. And we found out that despite them being from different locations and different walks of life, primarily they're talking about the same things. So the same things is affecting all Sierra Leoneans, and that's what we wanted to make sure that we find a way to bring these issues directly to key decision makers on their behalf.
Interesting, and as you say that, so what we're going to do tonight, we're just going to premise every conversation on a clip. So we're going to start off with, there are 4 issues raised by Sierra Leoneans. They talked about corruption, inclusion, law and order, and patriotism. So we're going to start off with corruption. Let's listen to what Sierra Leoneans think about corruption. What are the problems? How do we address the menace of corruption? And then I'll then bring the conversation to the leaders in the studio to see how we can all come together and find solution to the problems.
Anything starts from the beginning. Okay. It starts from the training school. We say you will train the military, or even we, from all the younger one, and then if we begin train with us, let we know exactly say salon can number 1. Okay. You get from be honest. Even picking where you born picking it, you begin allow you take this 2 sweet, you give this, then you give this one, you hide the other one, you give the daddy. Next day, where the other one don't go, you take them back again. You don't begin learning to corruption or to do bad. You go continue.
But I think for the purpose of this discourse, I'll focus on the absence of a national agenda, in the sense that our development has not been stable or sustainable simply because as a nation we do not have a national agenda. Party A will come in, bring in what they think they want to achieve in the next 5 years, and when Party B comes in, we start to condemn that these people are not serious, let's do something differently. So most times the challenge becomes, is that we are not able to get a holistic development plan. So what we need now as a nation, let's go back to that point, where we will have a national agenda. In the next 10 years, as a nation, this is what we want to achieve.
Lack of monitoring. Big government is spend some money the government is spend on unnecessary money they spend, because when they see no head, no tail, just they spend money without no monitoring, nobody no day for monitor. If this project they happen or this project they happen, go down and say, go to Tomabo now.
What's that?
Tomabo. The Tomabo. How many billions the government don't spend to that place there? If then they buy 1 cup rice 5 million. Where the old they are 5,000, 1 cup of rice. Inside Tomabo town. Wow. Tomabo, what would they expect say by that time now, and then for me they do food now because to the type of money we don't spend.
All right, those are Sierra Leoneans, and those views they expressed on corruption. I'm going to start off with you, Femi. Looking at, for example, what they mentioned, that corruption does not choose color and how it hinders the development of the nation. They cited the Tomabo Rice Project, which everyone is aware of. ACC is also investigating corruption in that. And so what comes out of these Sierra Leoneans is that we see a lot of wasteful spending. So how then do we ensure that we bring the people along when we make these decisions, when we sponsor, when we fund national development, so the people will be able to monitor these developments and contribute to its meaningful, to get meaningful desire at the end of the day.
I actually loved listening to them because I think they hit the nail on the head. The first person that spoke about development, that we don't have a national agenda, that everybody comes and toes the line.
Right.
And I think that person who gave that first opinion was thinking the way I am thinking, that before we take care of the peripheral issues, we have to build a solid foundation. And with a solid foundation, you can then build on top of it. And when we look at, they spoke about unnecessary spending. They're talking again about institutions being weak. And that's, and the information you sent to me, you mentioned consolidating our peace.
Right.
And these issues that they're raising, those are the pillars that can be used to build our peace. I don't believe we're at the point where we're actually consolidating right now, because everything seems to be falling apart around us. And before we came on set, I was speaking with Mr. Salia here, getting a feel for what his organization did. And it's fantastic that they're actually having the dialogue direct from the people. And when we say it, they say it's politics. But when we're hearing that the people themselves are saying it, it means there needs to be action. And what are the bedrock of our peace? What can we build on top of? When we have a judiciary that is non-functioning, we have a police that is partial, we have people going hungry, people not being able to afford a place to live, they can't afford water, they can't afford anything. There are no jobs. So what's the foundation on which we can then build? We now have to really do an introspection. Are our leaders leading? Are the government governing? Because somebody said about wasteful spending. And what did we see? We saw the Auditor General being put on suspension. So who's monitoring who? We asked the question. You know, so those are key issues. And I'm glad that they approached it that way. That these are foundational issues.
So as you talk about how do we consolidate the peace, Femi, it goes back, for example, 4 years, 6 months, would leave us one people. You would see, the very surnames people think are always at loggerhead. You would see, Kamara and Vandy, they would eat from the same pots, the same pan. It's okay, it's normal. And that's a Sierra Leone we know. That's a Sierra Leone we want to continue to see. You see Mabinti and Samai, they would ask each other, you get small ogiri and then you kitchen. But when it's time to election, what is happening now?
That, Samuel, was the good old days. What we're seeing now is a Sierra Leone that is completely divided in terms of job interviews, in terms of positions, in everything, in terms of who gets victimized, we're seeing a lot of victimization going on. And it seems to follow some sort of a tribal or regional line. And we cannot consolidate something that we don't have. Right now, and I was reading an article that was saying the peace in Sierra Leone is no longer fragile. I beg to disagree. Our peace is as fragile now as it was post-war, post-conflict. And we're seeing areas that the government should really focus on, Samuel, they're paying no heed to. Now, you're having a conversation about peace. You have at least 2 of us here, or 3 of us here are from political families. And when we had that August 10 thing, we saw the president engage several people. He engaged the paramount chief, he engaged religious leaders. At no point did he at all engage political parties. So we cannot consolidate something we don't have. And until we have leadership that's really invested in having a peaceful Sierra Leone, you have to lead and we will follow. So when we have that kind of a situation where we have a judiciary that's, I mean, for all I can say, today I was saying to my sister, is that why don't we just have the chiefs, the section chiefs and the town chiefs do the legal stuff? Because they may not adjourn cases. You'll give them a goat or a chicken for your fine and the case will be solved. Instead, we see cases from December 2021 being adjourned and adjourned and adjourned, as if we're graduating hundreds of people from the law school. Cannot somebody give a verdict? You know, so those are the things that are weakening the peace, Samuel.
Michael, let me hear you on the take of Sierra Leoneans in dealing with corruption and looking at the ripples of corruption in the state. They said it's killing the development trajectory because, first off, we do not have a national agenda. We do not have a national plan to help cement whatever development we would start for it to continue, because when Party A comes, it's going to be different from when Party B is in power. So we start afresh, and that has taken us nowhere. And again, we're seeing wasteful spending, according to one of the people spoken to there. That Tomabum project, for example, we should be harvesting. We should be okay by now in terms of providing rice for this nation. But the ACC is saying, wait, we have to investigate even the resources we've invested in the Tomabum project. So where does that put us?
Well, to start with, Samuel, the topic of discussion, consolidating peace, tackling tribal divisions, linking it with the current unfolding circumstances, and the confessions that have just been made by people I saw in the clip, is something very, very much difficult to handle at this moment. We started off on a very, faulty foundation, because the transition that took us to 2007 and that transition that also took us to 2018 cannot be compared to the way things are unfolding now. Sierra Leone fought a decade civil war. We destroyed our own very, infrastructures. The economy was nothing to write home about. But when we transitioned, there was what we refer to as post-war reconstruction, right? We saw the international community paying attention to Sierra Leone, many other people intervening, security sector was reformed, and in the security sector in this case, it's not only limited to the police or the military, but even the judiciary. It was reformed to a very large extent, and the reformation is still ongoing. We saw the creation of ONS and the establishment of many state institutions that are considered to be good governance institutions. And my brother started off by saying citizens' participation is indispensable to good governance. We have stated often and again that the civil space is actually limited, that the national conversation is being stifled, that people are not allowed to express how they think or how they view things and how they want government to actually address some of the concerns that are coming from citizens. We've seen a situation in which people like Madam Femi Claudius Cole and a host of other politicians have spent nights behind bars for merely expressing opinions on national issues. We've seen all of that. So if we are talking about citizens' participation in democracy or good governance being indispensable, we have to look back to where we are coming from. I was expecting much from His Excellency the President, considering the fact that...
Forgive me, some of these concerns are not starting now. They did not start 4 years ago. These are monumental crises we've been managing, whether it's APC, SLPP, or whatever political party in power.
Yes.
So how do we handle them?
I am seeing you are also towing the lines of the politicians. When they come, they want to apportion blame to their predecessor. We are not saying it is commencing now. But when you come with a different platform and a new agenda. You come with a manifesto, promise the people change.
So my question is not to apportion blame, but how do we collectively as a nation address these concerns?
Like I said, we have to create the civic space, allow the national dialogue to go on, allow people to freely express what they think. Dialogue with the opposition. At a point, I saw the Usman Fode Yansane, Dennis Bright and others, they took a letter to State House just to see the president. They were blocked. In fact, they were embarrassed. You cannot create the platform for a dialogue with, fellow politicians and other political parties and you think you're going to get it right, it is wrong. You will not get it right. The human rights of the people are being stifled. The rule of law is not in proper operation. A lot of things are going wrong. So dialogues of such that is being proposed by our brother and the organization is representing, they are spot on and timely. The time is now to do those dialogues. Although we have also stated that they started off on a very wrong footing. But then let us come to the question you are actually referring to regarding corruption. Mm-hmm. When President Bio came, he promised us a new direction and stated a lot of things. He made series of promises. People are talking about unnecessary spending. He said he was going to cut down on the wage bill. You cannot compare now what is on the wage bill to like 5 years back. He said he was going to close some offices. That some offices were established unnecessarily, some commissions, even some diplomatic missions. When he came, he has established missions and created more offices, contrary to what he promised the people. So that tells you those offices more often than not are even just created to satisfy a certain set of individuals that are considered to be loyalists of a certain political party, and it is wrong. We've seen the NGC raising issues regarding tribal auditing with state institutions that are responsible to manage the affairs of the country for it to be actually peaceful. We saw their audits regarding the ECSL. When they started raising the issues that the ECSL employment is not based on region and tribe and political, loyalty, a lot of us trivialize that. But we've seen all of that now. So we have to come back to the drawing board and start addressing those things. Mm-hmm. Elections are just at the corner. Yeah, we have seen the amount of money that is being spent on foreign travel. Yeah, now you cannot compare what is being spent in the 4.5 years of President Bio to what was spent by Ernest Bai Koroma in 10 years. It is almost tripling that amount, and that is also wrong. We are not even considerate of the fact that we must be considering how to spend more on capital investment and recurrent. What we are spending, we are not getting back. Some unnecessary expenditure must not be tolerated as a government. Right. And that is why government cannot subsidize on many things. Now, I was in a debate. Somebody was lying to me that they are subsidizing for rice and some basic essential commodities. That is also very wrong. And that person is the regional spokesperson for the SLPP in the North. I was on Hope FM very recently. You must also not be deceiving the people. You cannot be subsidizing for rice, and we are buying rice almost 600,000 litres. All right. So that is the point.
Let me hear from Honorable Ibrahim Tawa on how do we address the issues around corruption as a state.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I've listened to my brother Salia. I want to, first of all, thank him and his organization for the brilliant idea to talk about national cohesion, to talk about issues surrounding the livelihood of Sierra Leoneans, to talk about hope, to talk about what will happen to the next generation. You've heard from your first panel introduction and conversation, and you will realize that the problem starts here. We are talking about a national conversation. We are looking at the way forward. We are looking at how to tackle a menace that has started from independence. But people are looking to apportion blame to somebody that is seated in the last 4 years. People are moving and shifting the goalposts because they think they want to play a political card. And that is not it. You called us here to discuss a national agenda. An agenda that speaks to the daily issues. You see on your television, somebody who is not a politician is telling you that we should have a national agenda that should span for a 10-year period. It's not as if there has not been any agenda. Every political party that has come to governance comes with an agenda. Between 2007 and 2018 or 2017, President Koroma had the agenda for change and the agenda for prosperity, both stemming from the poverty reduction strategy paper, poverty reduction strategy document that President Kaba was working on. So there's an agenda. But what is lacking? If you go to the agenda for prosperity itself, you will realize that in the preface to setting the pillars in the agenda for prosperity that President Koroma ran on in 2012, they made analysis on the shortcomings, on those things that are really serious stumbling blocks an obstacle to achieving some of the tangibles or some of the indicators they've set in the agenda for change. And one of them is something that one of the speakers said, that there is lack of evaluation and monitoring. And it is there that evaluation and monitoring is lacking between and among MDAs. That the process for assessing management of resources in the agenda for prosperity, whilst they were prefacing the success and failure, the challenges of the agenda for change, they said that this is a serious problem. And this has been a problem from 1961. So what should we do as a nation? We should not come here and begin to talk about, oh, there is no function in judiciary. There has not been a function in judiciary in Sierra Leone for 60 years. It is not just yesterday. Everybody knows.
But how do we fix that now?
That is why we are here. That is why we are here. We should not be labeled the points to say, oh, we want to score political goals or want to make a statement that will appeal to our base. Like I told my brother the last time when we were on SLBC, my brother Abdul, that we should stop playing the victim's card and talk about the issues. Now, the issue is, what you've introduced is corruption. And in every manifesto in this country, go to the Agenda for Change, Agenda for Prosperity, President Kouma's inaugural address at the National Stadium, he said the most difficult and thorny issue to tackle that will transform Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans is corruption. President Bio said that he's going to fight 3 wars: the war against corruption, the war against poverty, and the war against indiscipline. And if you look at them, 3 of them, they are inextricably linked. Because if you fight corruption, you fight indiscipline. If you fight corruption, you fight poverty. And corruption has been a thorny issue in Sierra Leone. Yes, our numbers are going up. In the international measurement, we were at 49. Today we are in the 80s. But are we talking about the 80s and 49s today? No. Do I want to talk about SLPP today? No. I am SLPP. I want to react to what Femi has said. I want to react to what Mikaelo has said. But that is not the reason why I'm here. I'm here for us to look at the national picture. It's not a blame game business. Let's talk about what will take care. How can we tackle corruption? How can we make impunity a thing of the past? Because we are talking about, people are in power, they are profiled on tribal basis, they are, like Mikaelo just said, that, they want to do audit at ECSL because he realizes that people at ECSL have names that are more familiar with maybe Southeast. But come to think of it, all of us, maybe even Femi, if you go back to her original origin, yeah, you will realize that there must be a link coming from somebody from the north or from the south. So we are inextricably linked. We are connected. Our umbilical cord in this country are connected. So let us speak like the people. Let us talk about how to tackle impunity. Let us talk about how to enhance and bring efficiency and effectiveness in our civil service space. So let me finish. Let me finish. Go to our civil services. Go to Ministry of Lands. Go to other ministries. People will be strolling into work at 9, at 10, and meanwhile they are collecting taxpayers' money. That is corruption, by the way. Corruption is not just stealing. Corruption is depriving people from services that you should render. You go to other ministries, you make a complaint for investigation. People will spend decades to investigate. And meanwhile, somebody on the other side are fighting. So what should we look at? We should look at why impunity is pervasive. Why do we choose to be selective? So why has Parliament, let me finish.
So I was just going to bring you to Parliament.
Yes, I'm coming to Parliament. Why has Parliament, in all of the documents, look at the national, medium-term national development plan, it spoke about Parliament. It spoke about the fact that parliamentary oversight is low. Go to the People's Manifesto. Our manifesto speaks about Parliament. Go to the manifesto that Dr. Samuel Kamara ran on. It speaks on Parliament. So we should look at the institutions. How can we strengthen Section 119 of the Constitution? How can we make reports? It doesn't matter who is at the audit service. How can we make reports submitted to Parliament by the audit service more efficient? How can Parliament put it to public test? How can we debate it? Because you go to the Auditor General, I think 2 weeks ago, I listened to the current acting Auditor General. What he said are the same issues. The issues on corruption or the issues on audit borders on procurement, and other issues. So let us not finger pick, because if we are going to finger pick here, if we are going to cherry pick what we want to say, and we want to give it a political embellishment, it will mean nothing for this conversation. Let us face the conversation and see how we can tackle. The APC and SLPP, by the way, they have to sit and talk. They have to engage. They should find a bottom line where in that agenda that a young man is looking for, they can sit and put an agenda together that everybody will run on to fix this country. Yesterday, somebody was working on a road. Today, that road is abandoned. Other person picks up another road. Yesterday, somebody was working on market at Koindu, a very functional market that Chijankaba wanted to revamp. He left money for it. But because people, everything you do, either they will say, oh, now we start. Oh, now this part I'm beginner. And this is not a conversation
So how do we then kill that aspect of taking credit for almost everything? So if the APC is in power, it takes credit. If the SLPP is in power, it takes credit for development, things that you are elected to do. People feel and think that they're doing the nation a favor. Like
and I think one way is, when we come to this conversation, we must cross-examine ourselves and look at our nation's history and look at what have happened in the past. Today, my brother is saying, oh, everybody is coming from one region. Yes, 10 years ago, there were like half the cabinet coming from one region. But we are not here to discuss that because it will not help the people. That young man has told us that we should prepare a national agenda. And if we must prepare a national agenda, we should have a national conversation. We should talk about the issues. If it was a party B that has problem with that issue, we must say it as a way in which it would project a national picture.
All right.
And it would have a national interest.
Sally, I want to go to specifically what were the solutions presented by the people on how do we deal with corruption?
Let me first of all say that thank you very much. All of these, my colleagues here have said something. They've all touched on monitoring. Mrs. Femi Turner talked about it. She talked about who's monitoring who. Our brother here said he talked about the ECS auditing, and in fact, and the Honourable Minister talked about Honourable Member. Sorry, Honourable Member of Parliament. It's okay. I'm so sorry. He also talked about how there's a lack of monitoring and evaluation. And one person, many people offered many solutions, but one solution that I remember that was very key was that everybody should publish their taxes every year. We have the technology to do it now in this world. Every year, everybody should publish their taxes. It should be taxed in an electronic database. You know, that's one facet of tackling that problem. Thankfully, we have a member of parliament who can propose such a bill. Because undoubtedly, as you've seen, everybody's talked about, yes, the issues that we all know about. But I don't know, and maybe I missed it. I haven't heard a solution. And I think that's what we should start talking about. Just as my brother here talked about it, we need to start, and that's a concrete solution, one step. It's not going to be, there's not going to be one solution, one thing that you can do that's going to solve it all. But there has to be concrete steps to solve it all. And that's what I'd really implore, and I'll continue imploring throughout this program and every time I meet my colleagues here, to talk about the solutions. It's very true. All these things that they've talked about, they're issues that are well known, but we have to, that's indispensable. If we don't talk about solutions, and that's one solution, as I said, if everybody is taxed, at least that's one measure of making everybody accountable. I mean, we know how it is that we see a lot of developments from personal people getting wealth that is unexplained.
Right.
But where did they get that wealth? Thankfully now, there's an NIN that everybody wants to have. If everything can be tied, every major expenditure, for example, as somebody said in one of, I think it was, I've forgotten which town it was, but they said if every major expenditure can be tied with a person with a tax number, that's one thing that we'll be able to know, be able to monitor how people are getting money.
So it boils down to transparency. Whatever is being done has to be transparently, has to be very transparent in the way it is being done. So as we talk about corruption, let me just quickly go again to the people. There's also another fundamental problem that they raised, the issue of inclusion. You know, we've talked about how institutions are being overtaken by certain tribes or regions or people in certain places. But what do the people think about inclusion and how we should address that problem of inclusion?
Plenty women, the way they head positions, they know they practice inclusiveness. Yes, they always like for be autocratic leaders.
Okay.
Yes, they're not in democratic. Anything where they do, they take decision by themselves. Later they come now saying, so I don't do. And if they do so, it not go fine. Yeah. So now he make some woman they vote for them, come woman.
50-50, one woman, one man, TIPA system. But now in theory, when it comes to practice, they're not a great one. So when I go work hard, when I visit the political party, then constitution, let them revisit them. And what they write inside the constitution, let them strictly go by what they write inside the constitution.
Woman not let we woman do that. So in go take us. But that baby now be na class, na baby we full. I'm not going to feeling on a pick you pass. So before woman will be apply for the small boy. Because they not say where woman would definitely the law will stand. You don't have to the law will deal with you. So at the end is that they make woman.
I always know the bed.
The reason why I make, as you say, woman and defeat for votes for them come be woman and fear of change. They don't want change because they literally feel say when man they. Me, I believe say if you put man before some side, corruption very easier. But if woman she's very strict and stand that it make blind eyes to corruption. So the reason why make woman they afraid for put them come be woman before now because they don't want change. They fear change. If man and they see say they go do small yuki and change things.
Yeah. You remember there was a bill in Parliament for 30% quota for women. Parliament they deliberately they refused to pass that. Where they don't be if we don't be a basis for empowerment of women. So if we actually want to demonstrate seriousness in addressing women participation in politics or effective women participation in politics, I think saying affirmative laws for make. Once that they know in the actual system, the failure of Parliament for enact that law, that don't demonstrate the bottleneck in the men relinquishing responsibility to women. So for me, I feel say passing the law or passing affirmative laws for giving the right to women for occupy certain positions, I think is more important.
I told the solution will be the media. The media now a platform where they between the government and the people. Also, everybody gets opportunity for talk directly to these politicians within a power. But we need the help of the media. If the different various media platforms go around communities then, and either in a vox pop or any kind of show, and talk about the dissatisfaction of citizens. And I think these messages then go able to reach the politician and other stakeholders then.
That's it. Inclusion. How do we get more women into the mix, Femi? It appears you are your own enemies.
No, we can talk about focus on the angle of women and being inclusive.
Right.
Let us make it broad about citizens and political party inclusion.
Quiet.
That is extremely lacking. As Menkalu was saying, for my opinion, which I was proved right in the end, I was arrested. I was arrested on one occasion. On a second occasion, I was arrested. I was never charged. I still have not been charged. And they have my passport and they have refused to give it to me. Those are human rights violations. So what piece could we consolidate? The women who were arrested, many of the women who were arrested, Samuel, some of them were not even interviewed in court. They were simply sentenced. 5 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 million, almost as if it was on a factory line. And I listened to Honorable Tawa, and I really sympathize with him having to defend the indefensible. Because if you have even a family, I am the mother in the family, how my children are trained will reflect on me. They are badly behaved in public. It will definitely reflect on me, and to a greater extent on my partner. So you cannot be the government sitting in power and you are scrambling for solutions when the solutions mean exactly what the people are saying: collaboration, engagement. Samuel, let us look at the elephant in the room, which is PR. Even this program they are on now, to those who were given rejection slips, people have no clue that it is happening. There's been no sensitization. Therefore, there has been no inclusion. even today, when my people went to check on centers, there were nobody there. Nobody knew. Did they go around with megaphones telling people, una get rejection, sleep una calm, etc., etc.? Nobody knows. And those who went, adults, were told, go and get a birth certificate. And what was on their rejection slips? It was written there, you cannot prove that you are a Sierra Leonean. How can we consolidate the peace?
I want to ask a question. If you opposition politicians, for example, are today called to serve in government, would you serve? If you're appointed ministers, for example, would you serve?
Are you calling me to serve in which government? In this SLPP-led government?
Yes.
I would absolutely not accept. I will not accept.
Why?
It's 7 months to the election.
No, not just necessarily now. I mean, I'm just looking at, we're talking about inclusion.
No.
And, you know, I think it's about three years ago, I asked the same question to Honorable Kande Kole Yumkela, and in an exclusive interview I had with him, he appeared then to have given all the bright solutions to dealing with the economy. But then I asked him, what if Mr. President listens to this interview now, and Mr. President decides to say, Dr. Kande Kole Yumkela, would you please come and serve as the Minister of Finance? I mean, his response was, let me go and talk to my people.
No, if we're talking about the early days,
yes,
when President Bill just took power, and he offered those positions, different, supervisory, whatever. And he called a meeting. Remember that we did have a meeting with him. Political parties did have a meeting with him. And what we were saying was, we're not a count to you for money. Let us have, even if it's once every 2 months, where we have a round table, where we can talk about issues. And you can, look, when you're in that position, you're in a cocoon. You are enclosed. You're told what they want you to hear. You know what you want to hear. And it's controlled. But if you have something every 2 months, where you have a round table, and you listen to dissenting voices, you the kapu sense. Because they say one man says no to sense. And, you know, it takes the whole, the whole political structure to put things together. In those early days, in an area where I felt I would be meaningful, I would have accepted. I would have, to make a difference. Well, let me assure you, Samuel, being the type of person I am, I would have been fired probably faster than the speed of light. Because I would not be a yes minister. I would say, Mr. President, on this issue, I think you're wrong. I think this is the better way to do it. And as Tawa is saying that we shouldn't blame, but he's the headmaster. He's the principal. He's the president. And when you campaign for a job, when you interview for a job, when you write your CV, you make sure you're equipped. You look at the job, what are the job requirements? Am I going to be able to do it? Well, you're not going to say you're able to do it and then you say, well, APC be left and so, and this other party be left and so. No, the buck stops with you. And there are areas of building the peace that this government had the opportunity to do.
What areas?
Let us look at the police. What we're seeing with policing now the other day I was asking them, I said, is this community policing? You grab people, you arrest them, you beat them up, you split up their heads, they whap the woman there with koboko. And this is community policing? And you go to court and you're filing papers, the IG versus these women, without interviewing anybody? We see the police stop the motorbike, pulling key. Policeman jump on top of the motorbike. If they drive and go, keke same thing. You see policeman, they pull the number plate, come up and poda, he hold them, can't go to station. Can that not be fixed? Is that unfixable? We look at a judiciary, those women who came...
Does that tell about a breakdown in society in general?
It tells that it's a breakdown in leadership. Why should we be afraid to call it by its proper name? When you can easily pick up the phone and say, look, Mr. IG, blah, 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 I don't want to see this. The level of, and you wonder, why are the police doing it? Lose your phone, Samuel, and then they find your phone. You go there, you fill out the forms. One of my staff lost her iPhone. He filled the form, he go there, then find the phone. They demanded $1 million. Eventually, they negotiate for 200. Even when they say bail is free, I always tease and the SEC commissioner, I said, where is bail free? Bail is only free if you probably have a big personality and a big name and afraid for ask you for bail. So can the judiciary not be better organized? Is it? But if you give people jobs by who are your friends and people you know, you're stuck. And we're talking about corruption, and we had a perfectly competent Auditor General. And when her attention swung to the State House and fake receipts, she was suspended. And if she was suspended, I mean, if we're talking about justice, you handle the case, you investigate it promptly, you come to a conclusion, you put the woman back there doing work. Instead, you leave a vacuum. Why? That's what that man is saying on the TV, that you're spending money like crazy. And when we talk about the president's travel, they get upset. When we talk about the length of the convoy of V8 massive black jeeps, 30, 40 in a convoy, when there are people who do not have what they're eating for the day, who has the responsibility?
Do we have the leadership, Femi, at this point to fix these things?
The commitment.
In the period in which we're talking about?
In 4 years, we're seeing people transforming other countries in our neighborhood, not far. And it takes the discipline and the love of the leader for the people. You cannot be monofocused. Look at the registration process. Samuel, people were disenfranchised. I called it voter registration suppression. And I saw, even now, so tomorrow, they should have told everybody, if you have a rejection slip, you should go. But which center, where do you go? Where has it been posted? There are only few centers where you can take your rejection slip. Has it been publicized? So tomorrow I'm going to be in centers watching to see. So don't be surprised if you see me arrested again, because I'm advocating for the people.
Let me draw you again just quickly before I bring in Minkailu. On the issue of inclusion, we've seen Parliament has passed the Gender Equality and Empowerment Bill. Now that's an assurance that the 30% quota women have been calling for is going to be there. It's in 2021 of December when the president launched the first gender empowerment policy. We've seen the First Lady making a push for the adoption of the healing and prevention of sexual exploitation, child sexual exploitation, and all of this. Are these good signs? Are these ways of actually creating an environment for women to be safe and included in policy making and decision making?
I think it's a good sign, it's a good start. But then somebody asked me one time, and they said, is Sierra Leone ready for women in power, in positions of power? I said, what other women see and what young girls see happening to the likes of myself, does it give you the desire to go into politics? Does it give you the desire to want to serve? It makes you scared. And when we now, because we are now planning on moving with our party and we're going into the districts and we're talking to women, women are hesitant to engage in politics. Women are scared of seeing what's happening when women legitimately protest and they are beaten to an inch of their lives. Some died post. They're scared. So you cannot be singing hallelujah on the one hand and saying crucify him or crucify her on the other, where we see a very competent mayor being vilified because she was standing up for her councillor, being in court, being dragged to court for a case that seems to have no ending. So where are you encouraging women? It's by example, and not just by having women being deputies, but giving women positions where you're really showcasing the women. And don't ask where are the women. The women are there. The women really are there.
Let me bring in Minkailu. So the issue of inclusion, as Femi is talking about, for example, women are there. I would go back to in 2018 when President Bill was elected. There were women offered ministerial positions. They turned it down about 5 of them that I'm aware of. And at some point, we had to ask questions why. It goes back to, if you do not belong to my political party, why would I want to work with your party, with your government? So in the issue of inclusion, I mean, the women that were engaged, they expressed that I think the biggest enemy to women's empowerment, to women's involvement, are the women themselves. So how do we fix inclusion? We know it's a crisis in Sierra Leone inclusion, depending on who is in power and on what time frame and all of that. So how do we fix it?
Yeah, it can be fixed, but I have a lot of issues to run through. But let me answer the question you posed directly. You see, when they rejected, you've just revealed that you are aware of 5 of the women that rejected appointment. The SLPP government started off on a very wrong footing. And so most of those women are very intelligent people. They were of the firmest of conviction that the SLPP was heading for failure. So they may not want to be caught up within that particular web. As a result, they had to opt out of that. But when it comes to inclusion, the political party that I am representing, you know, it is in our constitution now, yeah, that 30% elective positions in our political party must be, you know, given to women. It is law now. We have also made it abundantly clear that if we are fortunate to command majority and be elected government, next government, 30% of the appointments will be women. And when President Nkrumah was actually president, we saw the empowerment of women up to the point of having a chief justice as a woman, you know, and a lot of other parastatals were headed by women. So we, as a political party, women's empowerment is at the core of whatever we think about. But then when my brother was making his point, he said, we are looking at the way forward. Somebody is here apportioning blame. I want to make it abundantly clear to the Honorable Member of Parliament that he will not shape this conversation for us to his liking. We are here to have a conversation, and we have to be very blunt in calling things by their names. We are going to continue to apportion blame. In fact, that is my responsibility as an opposition, yeah, to expose the inadequacies of government and provide solution to some of those inadequacies if government can listen. Time and again, we have provided solution. In some cases, government may not even countenance the solutions that we provide as opposition parties. He was making reference to, I mean, the PRSP 1 and 2, and that when President Nkrumah came, he continued with the agenda for change, which is the PRSP 3, and agenda for prosperity, which is the PRSP 4. That is what a government should be. A government is continuity. There is a state, Republic of Sierra Leone, and government is constant. Political parties may come and go, but government is constant, yeah? That is why the head of any ministry, the administrative head, is the permanent secretary. We have directors and other heads of department. Even if APC comes and goes, SLP comes and goes, the ministry is there. The department and agencies are there. They are to work in the interest of the state, not in the interest of political party. So President Nkrumah was aware of this very fact. That is why when he came, he continued the trajectory that was already established by President Kaba. Instead of bringing things that are not necessary, he continued. That is why, in fact, when we saw President Kaba, he did a lot for country. Yeah. When we were transitioning from the period of war to proper democracy, the building of state institutions, like the Office of the Ombudsman, the ONS, he implemented a lot of the recommendations of the TRC. When President Nkrumah came, he followed on that same footing. But when President Bio took over after President Nkrumah, he promised us to wage a war against corruption, poverty, and indiscipline. But I want to tell you, how can you claim you are going to wage a war against corruption? Charities, they say, begins at home, and the office of the president is the most corrupt institution, perhaps one of the most corrupt institutions, as once established by Transparency International. My brother Tawa sitting here is a victim of circumstance. He suffered in Parliament, himself and Honorable Gevao, for merely exposing corruption. He was robbed some of his privileges. He was even committee chairman for one of the committees. He was removed as committee chairman.
He resigned.
Well, you resign or remove, maybe you are compelled to resign. Yeah, for merely exposing corruption. You see, it's one person that the country have been looking up to. In fact, at some point, he won the award, Best Parliamentarian of the Year. for being steadfast, for being upright, and for advocating for the maximization of the welfare of the people and the fight against corruption. But lately, I am seeing my brother towing the traditional line of politicians. And I think you must have to have a rethink. Yeah, President Bio promised us the fight against corruption. They are telling us about double dipping, the forging of receipts in the office of the president. We've seen circumstances in which the audit reports cannot even be countenanced.
Investigations have been done in the office of the president.
Well, that is
scope investigated.
No, those investigations.
But the law prohibits the president himself from being investigated at this point.
I understand.
So have efforts been made?
I understand. There is what is known as diplomatic immunity. Yeah, the president is immune to a very large extent. But the fact is, there is double dipping in the office of the president, and it was exposed. Receipt forgery was exposed. And I also want to make abundantly clear that the audits, the reports coming from the Auditor General's office, they have not been treated seriously in Parliament, even though the law provides for that. If President Bio wants to fight corruption, let him go to those audit reports. There are many institutions, people that he employed that have been named to be corrupt according to that report, but none of them, have been brought to the law to answer to some corruption charges. Then you are claiming to be fighting corruption.
Can the executive act on the audit report when Parliament fails?
When Parliament fails?
Yes.
Now there is the
anti-corruption committee.
Now, Parliament is one arm of government, yeah? But we are aware of the fact that it is by law established for Parliament to debate the audit reports, for them to make recommendations, for them to even form committees to look into some of the allegations. Right. But Parliament have not been up to the task. And we know the Parliament is almost rubber stamp. They only do what the executive tells them to do. Or what is expected to be done. That is why when they came, they imposed a speaker on Parliament. They removed 10 parliamentarians so that no party can have majority in Parliament, to challenge their excesses. They did all of that. But come to think about another issue that President Bio said he was going to wage war on, poverty. Somebody was making an analogy, an analogy of the children and the sweet. When you have, in Creole, if you get two picking them, you give the one sweet, you give the other one, they keep the one, later you go give. No, that is telling us about the even distribution of resources. And President Bio must be aware that he was not elected for the Southeast only. He was elected to govern Sierra Leone.
Is that how distribution? Is that how the country's resources?
I'm making a point. Yes, I have to say that. When they came, they met the construction of certain roads in the north, like the road leading from Makeni to Kamakwe, for example. That construction was ongoing. Machines were taken from that place to somewhere in the south. They never continued, and government is continuity. They actually also, what they did with London, London Mining or one of the mining companies, they even had a problem up until going to the international court because they terminated the contract that was not signed by them. Let us know that government is continuity. When you meet your predecessor, have undertaken a lot of things, you have to continue from that trajectory because government is continuity. Now, I also indicated the point here that I think must be touched on. The even distribution of resources, we are still talking about that. Now, take a look at what is actually currently unfolding in some parts of the south and the east. The construction that is taking place in Bo and Kenema, for example, road construction. We have other strategic roads that we are on the pipeline to be constructed. I am fortunate to be coming from two districts. I am coming from both Tonkolili and Kenema. There was a time the SLPP went and destroyed plantations from Mile 91 to Magboka. There is a strategic road from Mile 91 to Magboka that will even take you to Kono. They destroyed all of the plantations when they came in 2018, 2019, with the promise that they are going to construct that road. But because it is not their stronghold, they have abandoned that. And they are very busy now constructing roads in the southeast. That is not evenly distribution of resources. And that is just the analogy that that person was making there. We must be mindful of those facts. When we say we are not to apportion blame, we cannot sit here to only make false allegations against the president or this government. We are saying things that are facts. We are saying things that are unfolding on a daily basis. And we are seeing all of that. Now, talking about the judiciary Madam Femi was referring to, we are fast approaching elections. But then most of those that are aspiring for the flag of the APC are currently in court. There are many cases piled in the appeals court. Dr. Samura Kamara, the Richard Conte, and many of them, they are in the appeals court. There are cases in the High Court. What is delaying the process? Why can't they speedily conclude those cases if we want to see peace? We cannot sit here and talk about peace. When they go to Parliament, they try to surreptitiously, introduce a legal instrument without going through the right process. It was not even gazetted. They went to Parliament, bulldozed their way, and now they have also issued a report and have sanctioned members of Parliament who are members of the APC. Right. Now, due process was not even done. What is happening to the principle of natural justice? If the clerk of Parliament authored the report for the attention of the Speaker, there is what is called a privilege committee. That report was to be tabled to the privilege committee for their investigations and recommendations. But without investigation, sanction has already been done. That is also wrong. You cannot talk about consolidating peace when all of those are unfolding. Now, let me also remind you that there is an originating notice of motion filed by APC lawyers that is being headed by Dr. Abdullah Okonte, one of the drafters of the Constitution. We have made it abundantly clear that the PR electoral system that they want to introduce is illegal. They must not go ahead with it. They still want to impose it and shove it down the throat of the people of this country. You have also seen another letter requesting for the auditing of the voter register by the leader of the opposition in Parliament. Government is not addressing all of those things. We are here talking about consolidating peace. Peace cannot be consolidated when the SLPP want to rig the election by any means necessary.
So on a normal day, when you talk about government, we refer to the executive. But for example, is the judiciary not independent of the executive? We're also looking at the Electoral Commission.
No, the judiciary is up to be independent, but it is not independent.
Okay.
Let us make it very clear. Yeah. I am not saying it is only commencing now, but they promise us a new direction and a change.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, you cannot make the judiciary very independent when judges are even appointed by the president. They'll be at his beck and call.
Let's hear from Honorable on the issue of inclusion. How do we address that?
Thank you very much, sir. Let me start by maybe correcting some of the misstatements, misposition, and maybe exuberance from, collectively, COP and APC are one. So there are two people speaking up against the government here. But let me start by saying, Madam Femi spoke about police brutality. I was an elected member of Parliament when the LUC in Lumley, Shillong then, coordinated police officers attacked me at Kalingo. I went to the police for refuge. It was the LUC himself. When people were brought from Kanike to assassinate me, it was the LUC himself that showed them the exit and entry of the police station. I have the photo. I was given a police fatigue at 1 p.m., 1 a.m. in the morning to escape with me out of that police station. So for me, what we should do, like I said in the beginning, Kailu was saying, I want to shape the discussion. No, I want us to be honest to Sierra Leoneans. Because from all he has said, he spoke about audits report not being debated. You want to talk about debating of audit reports? The APC had 72 members of parliament between 20... I'm coming. Let me finish. When you were talking, I didn't speak. Please. The APC had 72 members of parliament between 2012 and 2017 or 2018. That is too short of 2/3. The majority to do anything. Never in their lifetime, including the honorable leader of the opposition, who was the deputy speaker and the chairman for the Public Accounts Committee, never in that period that any member from the APC, including himself, has said, let us debate the audit report. So you see the level of tolerance that a member of parliament in the ruling government asked for the audit report to be debated. I publicized it. I came to this television like 10 times over. I went to all other radio stations to emphasize the point that, yes, this is a constitutional requirement. Let us do it. It was not done yesterday. Does it make it right today? Yeah? But the point is, if we want to use that now as a political bargaining, they are not debating the audit report, what point will he score? The Honorable Chairman Ramadan Majuba, he was the running mate to Dr. Samura Kamara, and he was running on transparency and accountability. Then he was the chairman of Public Accounts Committee. He did not have the guts to say, let us debate Auditor General's reports. There were piles of Auditor General's report for 2015, 16, and 17 that were not tabled in Parliament while he was a deputy speaker. it was under Segeport that they were tabled. And when they were tabled, I asked for a debate. I left the committee, by the way, let me correct the record. I left the committee because what I expected to be done, as per my function under Section 93, performing oversight, if I don't have it, I will go. Madam Femi said, oh, it's 7 months to election. It was in the middle of the journey when God asked Joshua to help Moses. He did not refuse. If you believe in a cause, you fight for the cause. In the mountain of Massa and Meriba, the people tried and tested Moses' patience. But when he came, in his anger, he went back to God that, oh, I'm tired of this. God said, stand firm, for you shall receive the salvation of the Lord. If you don't believe in inclusion, you say, oh, in this SNP government, there's this, there's that. It is on record, President Bio has given more women position than any other president in this country. I didn't want to go political because I'm not here to discuss politics today. I'm here to discuss national inclusion and national cohesion. Femi spoke of the issue of government having the solution. No government in the world, not even the United States, not even President Biden, has the solution, all the solutions to the problems of America. You watch the news every day, there are issues in America. You talk about police brutality, and you want to rope in the presidency and the government. Go to America, every day they are killing people in either Minnesota or in Georgia or in even New York. Policemen. They are also part of the executive. But they also have a command structure. So when it comes to that, let us fix the issue of the command structure. My brother spoke of appointment of judges. That is not in his realm. That is a constitutional issue. Everywhere in the world, judges are appointed by the president. So it is up to them. It is an individual issue to go sit, talk about integrity. Like 2 months or so ago, I listened to the Chief Justice, and he was cataloging issues after issues, why cases are delayed, that either lawyers from either side, whether plaintiff or defendant or whatever they called it, would have to file in affidavits, file in motions. They will not file the motions in time. They would ask for extension. And if they ask for extension, it is not the responsibility of the court to go to the client or to go to the complainant or whosoever and say, oh, your lawyer has filed in a motion. You are paying him. It should be transparent with you. So if cases are piling up, it is not the response. We've seen in this country where an elected vice president was removed. But this same judiciary that everybody was saying, oh, has gone bad yesterday, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, it was that same judiciary, Supreme Court matter, that said, yes, President Kumar had the right to remove his vice president. So this judiciary we are talking about, like I said in the beginning, we are addressing perennial issues. Let me finish, Samir.
Yes,
he also spoke about
coming to allow me to ask this question. With all of these things, we're still putting colors to the issues that Sierra Leoneans are talking against. They don't want the politics. They don't want the colors to be red or green. They are seeing a national concern, and that concern must be addressed from a national lens. I know you, the politicians, you can always color these things, and it's difficult for us and the Sierra Leoneans. But then, how do we push the solutions to the crisis?
It is not difficult. When I started, and I will still keep on that path, the only thing I will continue to do is to correct some of the things that they are saying. I will not be analyzing everything they say because it is conscience. Let me tell you, you have two things in this world. You have God and your conscience. It is conscience. I heard my brother say, oh, I have been told in the political line. If it is good, I will say it's good. If it's not good, I will say it's not good. It is not yesterday, it is not today. I'm sitting here now. I have talked about parliament again, right? I have talked about the role that every government, every document in this country has spoke about, or has talked about, or has drafted or analyzed about how parliament can enhance efficiency, how parliament can improve governance. It is not because I am afraid because maybe PR will come, they will not. No, I have a conscience to serve. I was born first in Sierra Leone before being SLPP. Everybody must know that. So when we come to this table, like he said, I will not shape the conversation. I'm not here to shape the conversation. But we must try as much as possible to look at things from a national lens, from the bigger picture. He spoke about McKinney Kamakuye. The government owes CSC huge fortunes of money. And if you are to pay them, you are going to prioritize. And if you are to prioritize, you will finish what maybe I have started some 20 years ago. You would have to finish Lomlitoke. That started in Tijan Kaba's reign. You would have to finish Hill Bypass because we've taken 3 loans under the APC for Hill Bypass. But it's not yet finished. So you have to finish that. There is no time in the presidency that the North has had less development under President Bio. There's a school built by Mercury at Poloko. We have a lot of other programs, a whole lot of other things in the North. But let me tell you something. If we come here and begin to say, oh, resources are not evenly distributed, resources are not evenly shared, the resource envelope in the first place is small. We have to face that. The resource envelope is small. And it's also part of the challenges that the Agenda for Prosperity analyzed before they proposed the pillars. That resource envelopes from donor partners are unpredictable. They will promise you X, they will give tons of conditions, and they will not deliver. So let us don't say, oh, goals were started, they were not finished because of this and that. You know, a whole lot of things. And you talk about CV, there's no job you go for, even with your CV as qualified as you are, that you will settle in that job and do it perfectly. When I applied at EcoBank, I was given a portfolio that was making loss. It was continual losses, regional and corporate. So nobody expected me to take the portfolio in 1 year and begin to make profit.
Well, you did.
But I did what I could. I did what I could. President Bio, within the limited time, within the challenging environment, don't forget that President Bio took up power on the 4th of April 2018. And by 2019, the entire world is battling with the pandemic. And we are still battling with that pandemic. Countries that were at the middle of economic boom, that were at the middle of directing the economies of other countries in the world. China, they had to be forced. There are people who had to force them with demonstration. They had to force them to begin to open up, to relax some of their COVID policies. So these are all issues that are also showing that the world is a global village. And if it is a global village, we have to accept it as such, and we have to look at the progress we have made. We've made progress in education. We are making progress gradually as a country. We're making progress in a lot of issues. We have a number of courts established for specific purposes, for rape, for economic crimes, as the case may be. So we are making progress. And as a nation, if we are to make progress from what these people want, we've passed the 30% allotment, 30% gender equality and women's empowerment bill. Yeah? It is a gradual process. It was not there. It was promised by several governments. It was not there, but it is here now. So it is going to take time. My brother Salia was asking whether I was willing to give up my seat. If my seat is affected by the 2 man, 1 woman, I have to accept it. That is democracy. That is what it is. Now, you come to talk about PR. You see, we should not say when the fox does not have the grape is sour. As part of what is his name? Kawan.
Justice Kawan.
Justice Kawan's blessed memory. Part of his constitutional review that was done under the APC. And part of the recommendations accepted, not published by the APC. PR was in there. They accepted PR, and they accepted PR on what understanding? On the understanding that it will bring national cohesion, on the understanding that it will help to bring in political inclusion as well. Because there is no way you will stop the APC from having a seat in Kailau. There is no way you will stop the SFP from having a seat in Cambia. So it means whether it's Kamara, whether it's Bangura, whether it's Vandi, standing for APC in the south, in Bo, and has a seat, you have to collaborate, you have to work together. It is inclusiveness. So for them, as opposition people, to come on national television and say, oh, it is 7 months, that is part of the issues you want to tackle. Excuses. You give your best when you are called upon. You look at football, players are on the bench. 1 minute to the end of the match, you'll bring them on. Go to 1999, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was on the Manchester United bench. 3 minutes to the end of the match, he was brought on. He accepted, and when he came on, he made the changes. He scored, and he created a goal. So it means time should not be a limitation to your performance. So if it is time that is Femi's limitation, that, oh, it is only 7 months, whenever you are called upon, you should serve. It is service.
All right. Salia, let me hear what specifically were the solutions.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. First of all, the women were most of the people, when they talked about inclusivity, yes, they did touch on political inclusivity, but they were more or less talking about gender inclusivity.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think that we've kind of veered away from that. And they were not only talking about, political inclusivity, but also in the corporate world. You know, how many international NGOs are headed by women?
Mhm.
How many businesses are headed by women? Even though you can have, I think it's a 6% tax break
Mhm.
if a woman is a manager or heading an institution, but how much of that is actually being implemented? And across the board, from all the participants, we talked about this as well, howness and implementation. There's so many policies, but how are they implemented? How are they implemented? How are we doing it? If there's a lack of it. There's a national youth policy that really engages in inclusivity and stuff like that, empowerment. You know, and a lot of things is that, what they notice is that a lot of what we'd call a lot of dissemination, a lot of publicity needs to be made in terms of educating people on equity. Because a lot of people think it's about equality, where it's about equity. Equity recognizes that each person has a particular way that they've come about, the circumstance in which they've come and landed in a particular position. And unfortunately, it's uneven for women here in Sierra Leone. Let's be frank about it. And they were talking about things like, I remember one woman that said that they should do away with women's wings of political parties. I mean, that was brilliant, because I think that that's a particular notion that plays to the stereotype of what a woman is for. A woman's wing, I know you're laughing, but what it is that women are capable of being in position of leadership everywhere. If you're going to present a case for a woman to be included, you're going to have to make sure it is a place of responsibility, of equal responsibility, because a woman can do what a man can do. And I think those are...
And the political parties have not created that, especially the two giant
well,
political
if they have
parties.
women's wings, they're working
just have
against
women's
that.
wings,
You
right.
need to, if you're going to say like, okay, I know Mrs. Femi has said, she talked about you don't want them as deputies, but we're saying I thank what Mr. Kuruma said, where his party is actually reserving 30% of the votes of the positions, elected positions for women. That is the kind of step we're looking for. That's the kind of step that a lot of the people are talking about. But they went further. For example, let's say there's a race for some leadership, like a chairman of a particular
chairperson, right.
chairperson. If it falls to a man, then there should immediately be an election for a woman underneath. So that means that it is a position of real authority. It is not a token of their ability.
Right.
And I think that's what was really said by a lot of the participants.
Interesting. Let's talk about, earlier Minkailu mentioned that one of the wars waged by President Bill when he took up office is lawlessness. And I think one of the areas looked into is law and order. So let's get to listen to the people. What do they make of law and order in the country, and what can be done?
Now, two of the issues that they were what we say important. One, strengthening the institutions where they for address law and order, then also for provide job opportunities for the youth. Then way say they always engage the youth into productivity, so that they will, that lawlessness will come on and the like. So now the few things that's what we say important for them.
I believe Israel we get one of the best laws then now for implement and monarchy. Very difficult. We now get implementing strategies. So I want to talk to the big one where they out there where they sit on the parliament and all. Not only for implement, not only for bring out those laws for we suppose for the implement another one. Then I believe say the youth them for realize say after elections it's going to be only me.
Concerning violence, law and order, fine. But really, we need massive sensitization. Sending peace messages, radio discussions, peace rallies, jingles, in different languages. Or say violence not fine. Law less violence, it take care with country go behind. You know, they call for development. We preach peace messages also in our different languages. Okay. Let all man know say peace now important for election, and that may make the country go before, and peace now they bring development inside the country.
Well, the other thing again for you in terms of these drugs, for make it be minimized. Now for we use the health people in for radio. The sensitization a day but a very slow, because like me they work na the hospital. When people then get involved into their acting, now hospital they don't care anymore. So to me, it send a signal to me say the health people know better. Because like even when they can do into their acting, they get the way how they behave, they get a drug so they can give them like some can calm down. So why we know they use them for go na them radio them, go na them bar them, go na side people they meet and communicate the effects, how it will disturb them.
All right, law and order. Salia, put this into context for us. Evidently, for many, there's a breakdown of law and order. There are beautiful laws, there are policies. Do we implement them as they are? Are we selective in the implementation of those laws? So what are people really saying?
Well, I think they've said all that you've just said, and they've lamented about, again, implementation of laws. It seems that their perception is that law and order is for certain people, and a lot of people are also exempt. Mm-hmm. You have situations, for example, I remember a man mentioned that, you know, some youths will misbehave, they'll do things to damage private and public property. They'll be in police stations, and you have certain politicians that will go and argue for those same people. Mm-hmm. And how do how do you do that? You had certain people that also talked about the sensitization about what it is to that who's responsible for law and order, that we understand that it's a community thing. And they also talked about solutions where another basic tenet of why we have an issue of law and order is because of idleness. Youths are not employed, they're not skilled. I remember a man in Kenema that said that we need to have TVET institutions in every single district and chiefdom so that the youths can now learn skills so that they don't come rushing to Freetown to become idle and become potential time bombs. So those were certain solutions that were there. But again, they all talked about implementation. One man told me, I don't know, he said some certain places of learning, TVET institute, I don't know if it was a TVET institution or something, he lamented how the place is empty. The people, there's funding for them to go and learn skills, but for some reason, there's not that push.
They're not going. Because is it that they are not aware? Is it because of
where are they? Do we have them in every chiefdom? No. Do we? I mean, there are more than 149 chiefdoms in Sierra Leone. Are they all centered in certain places? We need to bring this democratization of opportunities and skills and talents out there. They talked about and also they talked about how, for example, to some, they feel that also when they are in places of influence. Now, I'm not really talking about being in power per se. For example, if you're a big man in such a constituency, in a certain
you're
region,
financially stable and
no, just that you are connected to power in that place. Maybe you know the mayor, or you know the people. You can get away with anything. The law is not for you. It is something that you can choose to do. Whereas when you come here to certain places, and they think that, so it varies, obviously, from constituency to constituency.
So this is a societal problem?
Yes, definitely. And they think that what it is they've talked about, there was one lady that was talking about exceptions. Exceptions seem to be the norm. And law and order is not implemented every time, everywhere, and systematically. And so those are the kind of issues that they talked about. So again, and they felt that, but also many people did talk about the idleness of the youth and the unemployed nature of a lot of the youth. So there needs to be an issue of whether it's job creation, but also for a lot of us, somebody talked about it and it was more like, okay, there are many people that are going to chase jobs. The majority of people are going to be chasing jobs. But also teach us how to also create our own businesses, our own, not only, for example, buying and selling, but how to do things, to make things, repair things, produce goods and services so that they may also employ people.
All right.
And that is what was also lacking.
Okay. All right, Mikhail, let me hear you on the issue of law and order, lawlessness. From even the smallest society, the smallest community, there is a breakdown of law and order.
It is unfortunate that we are still getting it wrong. I was watching the clip. A lady was actually indicating that we have beautiful laws. We have many laws in this country. But she said their implementation is the problem. But I want to say enforcement of the law. more often than not, you know, you have people that are highly placed in position, they interfere with the implementation of the law. The law, sometimes it is only being enforced when you are not, you know, fortunate to be in the good books of a certain establishment. We have seen a circumstance in which people will violate the law, break the law, and go without being punished. We've seen that in many instances in this country. But when you are not in the good books of the establishment, when you do not have any influence in a certain government, the law is for you. And that is what is bad. The law must be fair. It is one of the fundamental principles of the rule of law. Law must be fair. The law must be implemented to affect everybody equally, equality before the law. But that is not the case. And that is what government, present and future, must be thinking about. Let the law be implemented to the fullest, and there must not be delay when it comes to the implementation of the law. You cannot take someone to court for just, you know, a certain trial that will last for 3 months, and you want it to last for 5 years. That is also very wrong. All those things must be looked into if we want peace, because you cannot consolidate peace when the rule of law is not fully being implemented. When the law is there to only, you know, favor a few individuals, that is also very wrong. So government must look into that, yeah? Let the law be implemented to the satisfaction of all and sundry. But I have a few issues that were raised by the Honorable.
Quickly, you have to do that.
The APC had 72 members of parliament, but the audit report was not debated. You know, sorry to say, but this is not expected. You promise us a new direction, a change. Exactly. You cannot be making comparison. And you also said we must not be apportioning blame, but he is also apportioning blame to the past government. The SLPP promised us a new direction. They call their manifesto the People's Manifesto.
We're still coloring the conversation.
No, but let us know. We must not be making reference to the past government. You are elected to deliver on your manifesto promise. Deliver so that you can be considered for re-election. But they have failed. They have not delivered. No government in the world can address all of the problems. We are not saying government should address all of the problems. That is why when you come to power, you come on a manifesto promise. You have voted in power on that particular platform. Come and implement your manifesto. But you have not even gotten it right. Say 5%, you are now telling the people all over the place that you've scored 90%, you are rating yourself. Allow the electorate to rate you. You must not be rating yourself. Let us note that. Yeah, talk about the appointment. He said I talked about the appointment of judges. So you are asking about the independence of the judiciary. I did say the judiciary cannot be independent because it is not, it is ought to be independent, but because it is linked to the executive and even judges are appointed by the president, it is not easy for it to be independent. I am not saying this is only for President Bill's era, but that is the tradition. Okay. And in most places, even without Sierra Leone, it is also the same problem, the appointment of judges. A few other things. He was saying, Kamakwe-Makeni Road, you know, we had some debts, the machines we are taking, but then they had wanted to complete Lumley, Toke Road, and the Hill Bypass Road. I was coming from a program from the eastern of Freetown. You know, I had to go through Kisi Road, come through down streets, you know, half of the Hill Bypass Road I was able to navigate through. But how can you meet a project that was almost at completion stage 5 years ago, almost 5 years, you took over this country, you cannot complete that project? The Lumley Toke Road cannot be completed. You went to Kamakwe and took those machines from Kamakwe to a certain road to be constructed around Bond, because that is the home of Samura Kamara. He leaves Makeni for Kamalo to Kamakwe. So President Bill took those machines to a place where they were not supposed to be.
All right.
Now let us also know
quickly.
COVID-19. Their governments, when you are elected, these are natural disasters, man-made and natural disasters. These are things no one can predict. So don't rely on COVID-19 to give us excuses even when you have failed woefully. Okay. We also have similar problems. Ebola, although it was only limited to the sub-region, you may want to put up that argument that COVID-19 is globally the problem, but Ebola is just limited. So let me tell you, but even with Ebola in the sub-region, we are still able to subsidize for fuel. Okay. I went to my village very recently. I bought 50 liters of fuel, 1,050,000. When I used to go to my village around 2018, 2017, it was just 300,000. The APC fuel went as far as $45 per barrel, but to subsidize. we did not allow the people to suffer. They have failed the people.
Femi, let me hear you on law and order, the issue of lawlessness.
I have Honorable Tawa's little sermon that he was doing, asking that even if it is 7 months. And I want to make an analogy. At the Tokana crew, you go to Aujo, then get one big pot soup. It don't rot in it, a flush. Then they can call you, say, Femi can't shave. Will you share when you know it is rotting? So when we are quoting the Bible, we have to keep in mind the environment in which we find ourselves in.
Okay.
So in terms of law and order, again, for me, it's leading by example. We're seeing a level of partiality during registration process. I would like to know the statistics of how many people were arrested in some areas and how many people were arrested in especially the Western area.
Arrested for what?
Oh, some of them took somebody to verify for them. The councillor was arrested. The party representatives were arrested. I myself, at Adonkia registration, not Adonkia, I'll remember. They called the cops on, they called police on me. A whole truckload of police came to arrest Femi. What was my crime? I was insisting that the people who were being rejected be given rejection slips and appeals form. For that crime, a arrow by the name of Govi called police. First, it was a New England police that came with the intention of arresting me. For what crime? When I am insisting on you doing the right thing. That is why I'm saying in the government, there's a head and there's a government. And they are supposed to lead by example. Yesterday or day before yesterday, I was coming from Makeni and the convoy, I don't know who was in that convoy. Samuel. The number of vehicles and the sheer speed. What of the people in the village? What of the safety of the citizens? They do not matter. Nobody cares. What about those going down a one-way street? Okay, you can say you don't want the president to sit in traffic. So everybody, speaker not for sit down at traffic, IG not for sit down at traffic, you will see everybody going down the one-way street.
But then there was a particular point in time when the president came out saying I think we have to quickly go for commercial break and we'll be right back.
Sierra Leone decides when it breaks at the police stations, we are your first and most reliable witnesses. We deliver a crisp and concise as usual.
With our modern broadcasting equipment, seamless coverage all around.
From all angles and perspectives on TV, radio, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We serve you with nothing but unadulterated information. For sure, we are your trusted election op.
We will give you a round-the-clock update and a precise look and picture of the election.
We will uncover and probe the business side of the polls.
Who's buying whose vote and why you should be concerned.
We will assemble all the experts shaping the conversation. Before, during, and after the elections,
we are ready. The tax ahead, we are more than ready.
We are your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced. AYV.
AYV. AYV.
AYV.
AYV.
AYV.
Right, we do apologize for that abrupt break. Femi, you were making a submission. So I was asking about, at some point, the president came out with a directive that no government vehicle should ply with the registration plates covered. The president was even doing on-the-spot checks with offices, giving a report time for people to report to their offices, including government ministers, and people were embarrassed. And the people you're talking about, whether speaker, minister, they should just follow the normal traffic rules. So the president had come out. I mean, when you see these issues, have you made an effort to, wait a minute, let me call the attention of the police. Who is this minister that has just covered his registration plate?
They're all doing it. So many of them. Even the convoy yesterday, there were cars without plates at all that were driving at breakneck speed. And it's not just to start. What you were seeing then was the honeymoon. Going to offices, check-in. It's the honeymoon. You don't mind to do, man, I not be seen. And Honorable Tawa is talking about the supervision. They're not able, are they not able to monitor, to supervise, to see that things are being followed through?
Are we pinning this on the presidency, or should we also pin it on the different arms? Because if you have parliament, which one of its three fundamental or constitutional mandates is to perform oversight, and that is not being done. I mean, like you mentioned, the president could be told what they want the president to know. They would paint a picture that they would want the president to see, which is different from the realities. But these members of parliament, for example, are elected directly to represent us to correct those wrongs.
And also remember the interview that the president did, where he said categorically, I hired the people I know. He didn't say I hired the most competent people who can do the job regardless of what their political affiliations are. He said he hires people he knows. So even when we see, as the Menkailu was saying, the audit report mentions specific areas. What have we seen happen to those who forged the receipts? Now, we know the president himself did not forge receipts at hotels. Now, somebody in entourage na Induam. Have we seen heads roll? No, we haven't.
Scope was suspended.
And?
Investigated.
And?
Proven innocent.
And resumed his job. And even the one who was threatening to kill people, you remember there was a time Abu was saying that they were going to kill people and blah, blah, blah. He was suspended. And put back in his job. Meanwhile, we see other issues, other cases that are dragging on, like the plague. The issue of those women who came out when we were supporting Diana Konomani, who went to headquarters, those women from Kono. Can you believe, Samuel, these women are still coming to court? This December will make the whole issue a year. Why? Why? So if the SLPP government is not able, then, or if they think they have done well, let them take a deep breath and allow the elections and everything to be free and fair. And if they have done well, they will be rewarded with a second term.
All right.
Without arresting all of us.
Honorable, let me hear you on the issue of lawlessness, law and order. There's a breakdown. How do we handle that?
Let him talk about the rot in Supewala.
Let me start with the issue of elections. We have seen an unprecedented pattern in this presidency. He announces a date for election like almost a year before the election. So there is no fear about going to the election and allowing the people to decide. You know, there are lots and lots of allegations about, voter registration suppression. Centers were opened in every part of this country. In the phases they were opened in the phases in every part of this country, in the north, in the northwest, in the western area. So you cannot say, centers were open and centers were closed. If centers were open for a particular ward, or 3 centers were open for a particular ward, or particular constituency, depending on the size of the wards in the constituency, the same number of centers were open in another constituency of identical size and of identical number of wards. So there is no evidence to substantiate some of these assertions. But you would understand, because the position of the opposition, like I've told my colleague, honorable member, is always to play the victim's card. We are being this, we are being that. But the point is, we are talking about law and order. And Madam Femi mentioned arrest made during the registration. People were arrested in Omli at Mafafield. I've had a lot of people made a statement about they were not there, they don't know what's happened, they are just on radio, on TV. I've had people well placed. They did not know what happened, what transpired at that time. But let me tell you something, Samuel, that will shock you. And for everybody that is around this table, yeah, is the fact that the people that called me to intervene on people presenting fake birth certificates, underage people presenting fake birth certificates to be registered at Mafafil. There were 3 people arrested. 2 were arrested for presenting fake birth certificates that could not be found in any system in this country, that was prepared by somebody at Kamayama. Yeah. The other was arrested for obstructing the process of taking these people to the police station to make statements as to where they get or obtain these documents from. These were the 3 people that were arrested. Everybody in this country, well placed, called me to intervene. I say it is not my business. It is not my business to intervene. It is an electoral matter. It has to be investigated, and they would have to prove either innocent or guilty. What were they asking me to do? They were asking me to circumvent the process. And I will tell you, people that I've had on interview that will talk about this, they called me. I cannot call names here, but I'm telling you, people in parliament, well placed, people in council, well placed, people in the opposition, senior members of the opposition called me, even before I left for the United States. People were calling me. When I return, colleagues, members of parliament, we are still asking me to go to CID to go and get these people. Actually, it is not my business. I did not know what transpired beyond what I saw, what I heard, and what I witnessed. If it was that situation, people were arrested, and you were saying others were arrested elsewhere for such situation, and you expect politicians to intervene, and that has been the status quo. Why am I laying all of this premise to come to the breakdown of law and order? It is facilitated by politicians. We cannot shy away from that. We are the makers and the breakers of the law, whether you like it or not. I can understand Madam Femi's position. She has never been in government before. She came into politics quite recently. She has been in opposition, and she will continue to be in opposition for the rest of her life. It is not a prophecy, because it is the way Sierra Leone is designed. Sierra Leone is designed in such a way that the people that we are fighting for, the people that we speak for every day, they are already divided between APC and SLPP, right in the middle. So there is no way a third party would win in this country.
Until she joins SLPP or APC?
No, I am not saying she should join. Already,
all right.
Already she's part of the APC, because she is part of the APC alliance, the COP. So I understand the dynamics, but not to point fingers.
Yeah.
But the truth is, that is how Sierra Leone is divided. And that is how other countries are divided. Go to the United States. There are other parties, apart from Democrats and Republicans. But these are the 2 main parties, and they are the 2 main parties that will continue to win. So the only way she can be in government is to be a member of either of these 2 parties. So I can understand her position on not being part or party to supporting the breakdown of law and order. But for us that have been in government, myself, my brother here, who have enjoyed governance, you will know that every case in your community, people will come to say, hey, they're going to be picking up when I do nothing. What I will tell them is, okay, it's good. Let me call the investigator. Give me the number of the investigator. Because in every case, there are 2 sides. So let me see the other side before I intervene. But if you don't intervene, let me tell you what the consequence is. It's a mark, it's an X against you. So we
vote
are
lost.
The people.
Vote lost.
Vote lost. So you are under immense pressure, either from senior colleagues. When I mean senior colleagues, not in the SLPP per se, senior colleagues even from the APC, that we are either in parliament together, or we are friends, or they know that you are a politician, they are politicians, so you have a rapport. They will call you to do things that are wrong. That is one part of the effort of bringing around. The second aspect is this. We must try, in as much as everybody is speaking to the same message, we must try as much as possible, whichever government, including the SLPP, we must try to give the police the independence they so require, or the independence that is so prescribed by the Constitution. So that we have a police force that has the latitude to investigate freely. We have the police force that will make arrests without being told that, oh, you must arrest this person. Because law and order, it is not a one-stop. It is a process. Okay. Somebody contravenes the law, and that person has to be investigated, invited, and if for any reason, charged to court. So there are processes. President Bio has done his best. I heard my lady say, oh, the speaker is protected by the constitution, like members of parliament.
So you can let down the one-way street?
He said when you are going to parliament,
okay,
as part of your immunities and privileges, when you're going to parliament for parliamentary sitting, nobody should stop you in traffic. That is the constitution.
So you can go down the one-way street?
Right.
Whether it's a one-way street or not, my lady, that's the constitution.
Thank you. Let's take the final issue. Unfortunately, time is dangerously chasing us. But let's get to listen to what the people think of patriotism, and it's deliberate that we leave it at patriotism to be the last issue for tonight. What do the people have to say?
In terms of tribalism, now for now we involve the political leaders because it starts from them. Yeah, you dey see one political party they go on the other side, who side if he say, he no get support, and begin say things them we go separate people them. So let me get an organization or a forum who side engage them political parties them for let them they put stop to that, and let laws them let them really make laws them put an aside for people or political peoples them where they do anything actively. Because the hard facts are the laws they don't do. When you want to you get for check and you get for balance. Because the greater problem can come up from them with leaders for just gain. They waiting they want gain for themselves, not for the people they
all now one swalini as they. Because me never keep back to me man. Till the man they back to till the man. So if you begin choose say one till the man, accept her. Okay. Because and that they bring love. That man, when he can marry to, he go ever see many man as possible they encourage him the man. So he go to preach and his family say no, although they speaking and many speaking, but the family accept me as part of them. So if we start for do that in marriages, in schools, I think that could solve the problem.
I believe say we need for dialogue together because Papa President we sit down yonder, he alone no go able for solve Sierra problem. Now me and you and the layman, where we include them in decision making, we dialogue together, we bring out issues. I believe so if we put them together, we will get a better Sierra Leone.
The leaders, the political leaders, where they now in position for embrace everybody and preach peace to everybody that we have them go change, we have them go cold, we can live collapse. If they see Team Neman, they married Neman, but where it.
So we need for change the mindset. The political system already, you don't entrench into the mindset of individual to feel like if my party is not in power, that's the end of my life, or that's the end of our political system.
All right. So I must caution we have about 8 minutes to round off. Salia, I mean, from what we've listened, it appears that even our political orientation has driven away patriotism from us, because all now we see all is red and green. All we think and act is red and green. So what were the quick fixes proffered by these people as to how do we fix and how do we then recollect, go back to activating patriotism?
Well, actually, when we talk about that, that was one interesting part. First of all, if I may, you notice in those clips that we've all played today, unless I tell you, you don't know which part of the country they're from. But I assure you, they come from every single part of the country, or the 4 places that we visited, Kono, Makeni, Kenema, and Bo. Every one of them was displayed there in all the clips. That tells you that, you know, it is, there are issues that we're all concerned about. And they spoke passionately, just as we have had here passionate discussions, but with civility. And that was something that we wanted to show people. But yes, I really hope our leaders here can tell us. Because that was one thing that people were not able to actually pinpoint and recommend as to, they will tell you why there's no love, why we don't have love for one another. But they were not able to really come out with recommendations as to how.
Why do we lack love for country?
Why we're not loving. They cannot come up with solutions to infuse that love. How do you infuse that love? Is basically, there's no solution. There's why. They talk about even the construct of Sierra Leone, how it is formed and different things that happen in history, how certain tribes were pinned against other tribes who started competing for resources, whether it was at the government level and things like that, how intermarriages only worked within certain groups of people, the school system. They can tell you why, But that's one thing that I really want to throw back at the leaders that we have here and the leaders that we will be going around the country and asking them what is the solution?
Okay.
Because that was not actually pinpointed. So I really want to revert to the leaders we have here.
So let's get to hear from them quickly. I'll start off with you, Femi. How do we bring back patriotism?
I think there's so many things that have to be put in place before someone can be... When you're looking at patriotism, we're thinking, how do we have the building blocks in place for us to become patriotic? For us to look at politics and say, once every 4 years, we put on our party colors, we elect, we take them off, and we're done. That doesn't happen. It seems like we are permanently in a political quagmire where everybody is constantly thinking, what you did, what we did, what we could do, it's because of this. And governments come and they put certain things in place, Samuel, that makes it worse. They come into office and the first thought is not, are you competent in this ministry, in this institution? They don't wait to check. They first of all get rid of everybody. Fire on a grand scale and then rehire those who are party loyalists or from the same region. So, and that is a perpetual thing that goes on. So you begin to create that level. From that level, you begin to create the hate, the discontent, that feeling of do me, I do you kind of thing. Say, they're non-kind of power now. They've sacked 200 of us from statistics. They've sacked so many people from here. The people from here have been retired. People from here have been fired. So we see that happen. And when you have that as your foundation, you can't build.
Okay. Mikhailo, let me hear from you quickly the issue of patriotism. How do we instill that?
Well, for me, my mantra is for God and country. Patriotism is the devotion, and vigorous support for one's country. And I have always supported my country. I think in some cases we have to put our political lenses, and see how we can all dialogue to move Sierra Leone forward. I think that is the dialogue we've been looking forward to, and going forward, that is what should be the discussion. But then, my brother here raised a lot of other issues. I just want to throw light on them very briefly.
In a minute.
Yes, he was emphatic on the election. Centers were open all over the country. Most centers, did open on time. I want to make it abundantly clear that we are not here to assess the registration process yet. But the challenges were too many. In most places in our stronghold, centers did not open on time. In some cases, more than 72 hours before a center could open. Let us know that clearly. There were faulty machines. Even the system was not made to capture those that will be 18 on the 23rd June or so, on the 24th June 2023, except they have to go and readjust the system again. Let us know those challenges, Now again, even when the provisional results, we are recently released by ECSL, they are telling us about duplication.
Okay.
257,123, when they earlier on told us that because of the unique characters, no duplication will take place. They are telling us about 607 underage. There are many issues, but let me again come to this one, regarding Madam Femi, Claudius Cole. I want her to be encouraged that the assertion made by Tawa that she will never come to power, that is not correct. The analogy about football, the analogy about football, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, she's not in the Manchester United as in the SLPP. You cannot take a player from another team to be included in the match. That is
Honorable, let me hear from you quickly on patriotism.
Firstly, patriotism, like you said, it's honors to country as against personal.
Yeah.
Let me, in 30 seconds, tell you one faulty patriotic action. In Parliament, I stood up from the government's bench, asked for a debate of the general report. I moved a motion. It was Chief Baiko that has the guts to second my motion. I was the only one standing and speaking on that motion every day, not a single member of until when it became political. That was when Dr. Kandi Umikela moved the motion, seconded by the Honorable Hassan Sisi. Like Madam Fed, my lady said, the building blocks. The building blocks for the democracy of this country, 1991 Constitution, is faulty. It is faulty. 1K is not encouraging patriotism. If you were saying, if I lost my political party identity, I am losing my seat. By the way, 15,699 people voted for me normally. That is a margin of 2,699 that I defeated my opponent, the incumbent member of parliament. But for a single action, for loss of party membership, I can lose that seat. So the building blocks, I agree with her, is faulty. So at that time, to round up, at that time, when my brothers were in power and have 72 members, when they amended section 79 and 80, that led to the fight over speakership and deputy speakership today, had they not amended section 79 and 80, nobody will be fighting for speakership, because you know the president will appoint a retired judge to come and be the umpire, fair umpire. So the point is, we must look at the constitution, the building block, for us to be able to get patriotism and national cohesion.
Well, thank you. Let me just quickly take a message from Dr. Freddy Lawson, a lawyer who is based in UK, but a fervent follower of the show. He said, the country is over-politicized with no meaningful purpose in sight, no amount of conversation, conferences, etc., without relevant action on the ground by all Sierra Leoneans would make any difference. The society is broken and has been for a long time. Sierra Leoneans have to realize that the hostilities between various groups and sections of society have to be addressed genuinely. After 60 years, we are now entrenched in a life and death identity war. Who you are and where you belong are now an intractable struggle for survival. The blame game is intensifying with no end in sight. One of your panelists explained that in some offices, workers could be seen strolling to work after 9 a.m. Well, that's a story in itself. The building blocks of a progressive society starts with the awareness that there is punishment for wrongdoing. In our society, wrongdoing is glamorized with immunity. Lack of law and order coupled with indiscipline and other vices are rampant, with no recourse to accountability and responsibility. Except we are prepared to reset these retrogressive behaviors, we are doomed and designed to hope and wishful achievement and development. The 1991 Constitution is another major obstacle in the path of development. It doesn't matter which party is in power, as long as that Constitution is in use, these debates will not end. All right, I want to say many thanks to you gentlemen and the lady.
Can we please remind the public, tomorrow is the last day. Those with rejection slips, tomorrow is your last day. Find your center and go there.
Thank you. Thank you. Many thanks indeed to Honorable Ibrahim Tawakonte, to Alfred Minkailu Kuruma, to Salia Fawundo Jr. and Femi Claudius Cole. It's been a pleasure having all of you here. This program returns next week, same station, same time, with a fresh topic. Many thanks to all of you who watched and followed and participated by sending in your messages. Unfortunately, most of them were political, so I had to let them go and have a decent conversation. Until then, the show has been AYV on Sunday. My name is Samuel Wise Bangura, and up next is our AYV Primetime News. Take care of yourself and have a lovely night.